Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into this stack of market analyses, technical reports. We're focusing specifically on Bitcoin's, pretty thrilling performance here in July 2025. Our mission, like always, is to pull out the really important nuggets of knowledge, give you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. And it's a fascinating time, right? As of July 12th, Bitcoin is soaring near $118,000. That's up about 8% this past week. And yeah, hitting a new all-time high for the year. But with record highs, there's always that big question. Is this surge sustainable, driven by real fundamental shifts, or is it just another peak in that famously volatile cycle?
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, and you see this echoed in the sources, is just how strongly bullish this trend actually is. I mean, we're seeing record ETF inflows, significant institutional accumulation, and even supportive macro signals providing tailwinds. Things like the anticipated U.S. interest rate cuts. So throughout this deep dive, we'll try to illuminate those key support and resistance levels Bitcoin's hitting, the strategic buy and sell zones that investors are watching closely, and maybe what to expect, in different market scenarios for the rest of July. We're really here to help you understand not just the raw numbers, but sort of why they matter in the bigger picture for digital assets.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. So let's get into the nitty-gritty then. What are the precise levels we really need to watch as Bitcoin pushes these new highs? Where does the analysis pinpoint that immediate support?
Well, the immediate support zone, the one to keep a very close eye on, is roughly $112,000 to $114,000. And this isn't just some random range. It's pretty critical. It sits right on the super trend, which is a key indicator for underlying trend direction. And it's a recent breakout zone too. So holding that is pretty essential for maintaining this upward momentum. Then slightly above that, maybe around $115,700 to $116,800, we've got the 20-day EMA. That exponential moving average often acts as a pretty reliable short-term technical floor.
Right, that helps visualize those floors.
Okay.
So on the flip side, where's the immediate resistance? That ceiling Bitcoin needs to punch through.
Immediate resistance seems clustered around $118,500, maybe up to $120,000. And it's not just psychological. The sources confirm this represents, previous all-time highs. And it's a key supply zone, where sellers might decide to step in. Beyond that, the next sort of significant monthly upside target looks like it's eyed around $125,000. Strong supply is anticipated there too. Now, if we do see a deeper pullback, critical deep support levels are down at $110,000. And even further down, the 50-day EMA, that's a slightly longer-term average, sits at $105,800. A decisive break below $100,000, though. Well, according to the analysis, that signaled a pretty significant shift to a bearish trend.
Okay, so if those are the critical boundaries, the lines in the sand, where does the analysis suggest investors might consider their next moves? Looking at potential accumulation zones or maybe profit taking.
Yeah, the analysis highlights that $112,000 to $116,800 range as a strong accumulation zone. It's not just the technical charts either. The data suggests this is precisely where we're seeing those sustained institutional inflows, kind of validating these levels as strategic buying points. Dips into this area, they've consistently seen pretty robust buying activity. And should we see a broader pullback, that $110,000 to $112,200 range becomes an even more strategic buy zone. It aligns with those deeper support levels we just talked about.
Interesting. And what about for those looking maybe, take some chips off the table or perhaps even consider tactical shorts?
Conversely, for potential profit taking or maybe tactical short positions, that $118,500 to $120,000 range is identified as an immediate sell zone, particularly if the price stalls out there or shows, signs of weakness. And that $125,000 mark is also seen as a major resistance and a potential profit taking zone if the bullish momentum really accelerates.
Okay, given all this movement, these key levels, what do the scenarios look like for the rest of July? What's the sort of most likely path forward according to these reports?
Well, the bullish scenario, it projects a target range of maybe $122,000 to $125,000. That's largely driven by, expectations of sustained ETF inflows, so supportive macro tailwinds we mentioned, and critically, a decisive breakout above $118,500. A base or sort of neutral scenario would likely see continued consolidation, just chopping around in the current channel, holding between, say, $115,000 and $120,000, provided that strong support holds up. However, a bearish scenario could see a breakdown below $115,700. That could potentially target lower support at $114,000, or maybe even $110,000 if selling really intensifies. What's also kind of notable is the RSI, that momentum indicator. It remains neutral to bullish, no real overbought signals yet, and the Bollinger Band's a tightening, which often hints at significant volatility coming up.
Right. So it really boils down to whether Bitcoin can truly, solidify its position above these new highs. If it holds above $116,800, decisively breaks $118,500. Well, that move toward 125K looks quite likely, especially if those ETF inflows keep coming. But yeah, a failure to hold that $115,000, $116,800 area could trigger that pullback towards $114K or maybe even under $10, where, as you said, strong buying interest is kind of expected.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, what really stands out is that Bitcoin seems to be in this bullish consolidation phase, right at these record highs. The analysis strongly suggests a decisive break above $118,500 could trigger a pretty rapid move towards that monthly upside target of $122,000 to $125,000. But this raises an important question, right? Well, the downside risk appears somewhat limited above that $112,000 to $115,700 zone. What happens if those deeper support levels, like around $110,000 or gosh, even $100,000, are actually tested? We'll definitely be watching closely. Sustained ETF flows, macro news, and those daily closes above $118,500. Those will be the early signs of a real breakout or potentially reversal.
So what does this all mean for you? When an asset that's famously volatile like Bitcoin not only hits new all-time highs, but sees traditional institutional money just pouring in, it really forces us to consider, are we witnessing a fundamental, a lasting shift, a shift in how the financial world views cryptocurrency? Is it solidifying its place as a mainstream asset? Or, despite all the excitement, is this simply another peak, another turn in its characteristic boom and bust cycle, just waiting for the next inevitable dip? It's a really compelling thought to mull over as you consider the future landscape of digital assets.